Binh Phuoc, a peaceful province in southern Vietnam, is known for its quiet streets, simple houses, and the fresh air of rural life. But on a night in July 2015, a brutal murder shook the entire community and the country. This is the story of Nguyen Hai Duong, a man whose life would be forever changed by love, jealousy, and revenge. Nguyen Hai Duong, 24 years old, appeared to be an ordinary young man living in a modest family. However, after breaking up with Lin, the girl he once loved, Duong couldn't accept the fact that she had moved on and found someone new. The pain and rejection slowly morphed into an overwhelming desire for vengeance. Lin, a young, beautiful woman, was the victim in this tragic story. She and Duong once shared a loving relationship, but after they broke up, Lin started a new chapter with a new partner. This did not sit well with Duong, and the hurt he felt turned into anger and ultimately obsession. The jealousy Duong felt was suffocating. He couldn't let go of the past and couldn't bear the idea of Lin being happy with someone else. This pain transformed into hatred. And from this hatred came a plan that would change the lives of many people forever. This is not just a story of revenge, it's a stark reminder of how negative emotions, if left unchecked, can push someone to commit unimaginable acts. On the night of July 7, 2015, everything changed forever. The relationship between Nguyen Hai Duong and Lin. Lin, a young, beautiful, and promising woman, was Nguyen Hai Duong's ex-girlfriend. They once shared a deep and meaningful relationship, but like many love stories, things began to change. After their breakup, Lin moved on with her life, while Duong was unable to let go of the past. For Nguyen Hai Duong, things couldn't just end that way. He couldn't accept that Lin had moved on and found someone new. Duong began to feel hurt, betrayed, and over time, this pain turned into an intense jealousy. These feelings weren't just sadness, but deep resentment that he couldn't move past. Duong wasn't just jealous over a relationship that had ended. He felt like a failure. Lê Thi An Lin had chosen to walk away from him, and for Duong, this was a betrayal he couldn't forgive. The more he thought about Lin being happy with someone else, the more it fueled his desire for revenge. He could not stand that feeling, and he decided that everyone involved must pay. Once again, Nguyen Hai Duong couldn't just let go of those negative emotions. He began thinking about revenge, not just against Lin, but against her entire family. In his mind, they were all responsible for the pain he was feeling. Duong began to plan. He thought that if Lin's family suffered the same pain he had, he would feel some sense of satisfaction. But this plan wasn't just a fleeting thought. Duong had carefully considered and decided that his actions must be brutal and unforgiving. Duong couldn't carry out this plan alone. He needed help, and his friend, Tran Jin Thoai, despite not fully understanding the extent of what was about to happen, was dragged into this criminal plan by Duong. But Tran Jin Thoai couldn't have imagined that this action would lead to a tragedy. He had no idea that because of Duong's jealousy and determination, an entire family would be wiped out in one night. The horror plan. Duong started meticulously planning his actions. He decided that he wouldn't act impulsively, but would plan everything in detail, from how he would approach Lin's family to the timing and method of the killings. Everything had to be perfect, leaving no trace behind. He believed that planning carefully would help him avoid punishment and escape unnoticed. As the plan started to take shape in his mind, Duong realized that he couldn't carry it out alone. He needed someone to help him. Tran Jin Thoai, a close friend, was the person Duong chose to drag into this crime. Thoai, although not fully understanding the severity of what was happening, trusted Duong and agreed to join him. Duong explained his plan to Thoai. He told him that only this revenge could help him forget the pain and hurt. Thoai, not daring to refuse, was drawn into the spiral of violence, unable to escape. Duong planned everything in detail for the night of July 7th. It was the perfect time when everyone in Lin's family would be asleep. That would be the ideal moment to act. They would enter the house, kill everyone in the family, and leave without anyone knowing. He had prepared everything from gathering weapons to researching how to leave the scene without leaving any trace. Everything was ready, and all that remained was waiting for the night to fall so that the plan he had devised could finally unfold. The night of July, at a 7th, the brutal attack. On the night of July 7, 2015, when the sky was pitch black and everyone in Lin's family had fallen into a deep sleep, Nguyen Hai Duong and Tran Jin Thoai were ready to execute their brutal plan. Their footsteps were silent in the darkness, like predators preparing for their final strike. Duong and Thoai had prepared meticulously for this plan. They wore masks and carried knives to kill. Duong, cold and merciless, had made the decision that Lin's family would pay. He could not accept the fact that Lin had found a new boyfriend while he was still haunted by the past. These emotions had pushed Duong to create a plan of revenge. They entered Lin's house through the back door without making a sound. Everything had been planned carefully, from how they would enter the house to their movements in the dark. They did not want to be caught. Everything had to happen quickly and decisively. Nguyen Hai Duong was the first to enter Le Tian Lin's room. The room was dimly lit, with only faint light coming from the window. Lin was fast asleep, unaware that her life was about to be changed forever. When Duong approached her, Lin woke up, and an overwhelming sense of dread immediately filled her. But when she realized it was Duong standing there, her panic intensified. Duong, with cold eyes full of hatred, said nothing. He pulled out the knife and lunged at her. Lin, in panic, screaming, "Why? Why are you doing this? I didn't do anything wrong. We've already broken up. Why are you doing this?" But Nguyen Hai Duong answered coldly, with no emotion. "You are no longer mine. Everything ends now. You and your family will pay for the pain you caused me." In her panic, Le Thian Lin tried to fight back, but it was in vain. Duong stabbed her. Her final screams echoed through the room, but no one could hear her in the dead of night. After killing Lin, Duong and Thoai continued their brutal attack. They did not stop. They moved on to Lin's parents, who were also sleeping soundly. Duong and Thoai entered their room and attacked them with knives. The sounds of heavy breathing, moans of pain, but all was futile. Lin's parents were murdered right in their sleep, unable to defend themselves. Next were Lin's two younger brothers. Both of them were children, but they could not escape their tragic fate. Duong and Thoai spared no one, whether old or young. Everyone in Lin's family was slaughtered in a brutal manner, and no one was left alive. Once the horrific act was completed, Duong and Thoai quickly left the scene, leaving no trace behind. They believed they had carried out the perfect plan. They returned to their lives, but a great change had begun. What they had done would haunt them forever, and the truth would soon be revealed. The aftermath. A family wiped out. The horror didn't end when Nguyen Hai Duong and Tran Jin Thoai left the scene. The damage had already been done. As the hours passed, the blood-soaked house remained silent. while the lives of 6 innocent people were extinguished. The family of Lê Thị An Glyn, once vibrant and full of life, was now gone. When the police arrived at the crime scene, the brutal reality of the situation became clear. The house was covered in blood, and the bodies of Lynn, her parents, and her 2 younger brothers lay scattered across the rooms. The shock was immediate. No one could comprehend the extent of the violence. It was a massacre, a senseless act driven by jealousy and a broken heart. For the investigators, the task ahead was daunting. The crime scene showed a pattern of methodical execution, but with no immediate leads. There were no signs of forced entry, and the killers had left no obvious clues behind. However, the police knew that the motive was personal, and they began piecing together the story that led to this tragedy. As the investigation progressed, the authorities began to gather crucial pieces of evidence. Neighbors reported seeing Nguyen Hai Duong and Tran Jin Thoai in the area shortly before the murders. Through digital traces, phone records, and surveillance footage, they were able to link the 2 men to the crime. Despite their efforts to hide their tracks, Nguyen Hai Duong and Tran Jin Thoai were soon arrested. The shock of their arrest was felt deeply by the community. 2 young men, seemingly ordinary, had carried out one of the most heinous crimes in the area's history. The town was left in disbelief. How could 2 people who were known to many commit such a gruesome act? In the days following the arrest, both Duong and Thoai were interrogated. Their cold indifference and lack of remorse were chilling. Duong showed no emotion as he recounted the events of that night. Lin, in his mind, was responsible for his pain and heartbreak, and the murder of her entire family seemed justified in his eyes. The case had a profound impact not only on the families involved, but on the entire community. For many, it was incomprehensible that something so horrific could happen in such a peaceful place. The grief felt by Lê Thị An Lin's surviving relatives was unimaginable, and the loss they endured would never truly heal. The trial, verdict, and conclusion. After Nguyen Hai Duong and Tran Jin Thoai were arrested, the case went to trial at the Binh Phuoc Provincial Court, drawing significant public attention. Nguyen Hai Duong showed no remorse or regret. He insisted that his actions were driven by the betrayal of Lê Thị An Lin and the deep emotional pain he felt. Duong believed that killing Lin's family was the only way to release his pent-up rage. Tran Jin Thoai, while an accomplice, showed signs of remorse and regret. However, he still had to face the consequences for participating in the murders, despite not directly causing the deaths of the victims. After several trial sessions, Nguyen Hai Duong was sentenced to death for the murders, committed with a vengeful motive. Tran Jin Thoai, because he was under 18 at the time of the crime, was sentenced to life imprisonment. The case of Nguyen Hai Duong is not just a story about a brutal act of violence, but also a cautionary tale about the consequences of negative emotions, jealousy, and hatred. Justice was served, but the pain endured by Lê Thị An Lin's family will never fade. They lost their loved ones, and the community faced a harsh reality about how far a person can go when consumed by emotions and hatred. Although the sentence has been handed down, the psychological scars left by this crime will never heal, not only for the victims but also for the perpetrators. This story will forever serve as a profound lesson about the value of love, forgiveness, and the consequences of losing control over one's emotions.